Welcome back, everybody, to the Breakdown Podcast YouTube channel. My name's Corin. With me once again to break down the latest from Superman and Lois, it's Vic.
That's me. How's everyone doing today?
Before we get into breaking down the show, we are going to let you know that we do this show live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on Twitch. That's 7 p.m. Eastern. If you go to twitch.tv/MillerKing_51, that link is in the description down below. You can come and hang out with us. We are currently talking Book of Boba Fett as well as Cobra Kai. So come by, hang out, and join the chat and have some fun with us. And Vic, let's break it down.
So this week's episode of Superman and Lois, the inverse method, is basically a breakdown. The main storyline, what I would consider to be the main storyline of this particular episode, is what happened between Ali Alston, Lucy Lane, and Lucy Lane. Is it Lane or Lane? Lucy Lane, and Lois. And the episode picks up right where we left off, which was with Lois talking to Ali in the restaurant, and she's like, "Why isn't my sister here?" She's like, "Your sister didn't want to come," and she's like, "She doesn't like you. She doesn't want to talk to you." And she's like, "She's my family. You've separated her from her family." And she's like, "That's a lie. She talks to your dad quite often, actually," which the dad confirmed last episode that he's talked to her a number of times. She just doesn't want to talk to Lois, which Lois, let it freaking go. Like the song says, let it go. And eventually she'll decide either she wants to be part of your life or she doesn't. I get it. I understand being estranged from your sister. I understand that you love your sister. I understand you want to protect your sister. I understand your mom left you when you were younger and that caused a rift between you and your sister. But and that you had to save your sister from almost dying from a fatal overdose of sleeping pills or something, which is understandable as to why Lois hates Ali Alston, a.k.a. the Parasite, a.k.a. a real character in DC Comics, which she calls out right away. She's like, "She's a parasite." I'm like, really? Again with this? Lois's writers are just going hard to the paint on this whole just outing stuff, and it's great.
Well, we find she said something about Doomsday last time, and it wasn't it. So my guess is she's not Parasite.
No, definitely.
She called her that.
She called her that. Well, that would be like saying, like, showing Doomsday and then going, "It's not Doomsday," and then like having Doomsday walk through the door. But this is literally Ali Alston, who in the comic books is Parasite. Like, this is the character. So that's what it is. Though it's interesting because it really does kind of translate. Her character is like an energy vampire kind of situation. Like your show that you like so much, the roommate, that's the energy vampire. Yeah. So it's kind of like that situation. She absorbs energy and more also like any energy. So like I can see him like playing it off of like maybe she's a parasite, but they're not being literal with it. In this case, she's just a cult leader who's feeding off of everyone's pains and that kind of thing to create this cult. So she is a cult leader. She calls her out on it, and they kind of have a stare down as Ali leaves the restaurant with her crew that apparently snuck in and they were never seen. They're watching them. Like they're all in this town. There's at least like 5 people in this town from her cult, and Lois never considers the idea that maybe she's being watched.
No.
Her newspaper is across the street, basically, from that restaurant. And when they all leave, you don't think none of them saw that Christy was was her partner?
Yeah.
Like, this storyline continues on. We're just going to go through this whole storyline and get it done.
Yeah, let's keep going with this.
Go ahead. Allie leaves, and she calls Christy, and she's like, "We have to go. We have to find my sister. We have to talk to her, blah, blah, blah." And she's like... She walks back into the office, and Christy had been on the dark web, apparently talking it up, catfishing a bunch of people.
I love how the writers, because I'm sure this happens on other shows too.
Yeah,
but it's like, where would we go to find such information? The dark web.
Like in some big bad secret that no one knew.
You mean to tell me this lady working at a newspaper in a small town, Smallville, is able to figure out how to get on the dark web.
I
Come
mean,
on.
maybe because she's a
No.
reporter, she knows
No.
somebody. I
Nah.
mean, they pay people for leads. Maybe she got
Nah.
a password from her friend, the same guy who
Nobody.
gave her the password to his Hulu account. That guy. Don't share your Hulu accounts for people. But she's like, I got an invitation. We're going to go to, again, the next town over for whatever reason. All of a sudden, Allie Alston is that close and Lois never knew it. And they travel an hour out to the next town over that conveniently has a Comfort Inn with a small meeting room. And she goes in.
They all do.
Yeah, she goes in. And that little tiny podunk town has a Comfort Inn with a small meeting room for what? What is that? What is that podunk town doing?
You could probably fit that room was small enough for maybe 50 people.
Yes, they were social distancing. But she goes in for the meeting, and Allie's doing her whole spiel. Blah blah blah. People don't really understand us. Yada yada yada.
But she's noticed as soon as she walks in.
Yeah, absolutely, because she came in late. When you come into in the middle of a freaking presentation, it's going to draw attention.
Yeah,
like she should have been there when it started.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not only that, like this actress has a very
noticeable
look.
face. Yes.
Yeah. You could change your hair.
Yep.
It wouldn't matter. Yep. You're still gonna recognize her.
That, and she's a reporter for a newspaper. I'm sure her picture has been in her newspaper God knows how many times. I'm sure their website has her picture on it. I'm sure if Allie Alston was researching Lois to see what she's been up to keep out of her crosshairs, I'm pretty sure she came across Chrissy's picture and name somewhere. Yeah. So her little disguise as Penny whatever, Penny Dreadful wasn't gonna hide her from who she was.
And this is where the stupidity begins.
Sure.
Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that because it's been all up this way, but it really goes on because it keeps cutting back and forth between Lois and her sister having a conversation and the stuff going on in this room, and it finally, what's her name, the parasite chick, she finally calls her out and says, "I know who you are." Yeah. Yeah, and so she tries telling her all this stuff. She's like, "Oh, you think you know everything? You think you know everything?" And then she looks over at a guy sitting behind a table with headphones on, and he cues up a hidden camera that's in the same room as Lois and her sister. Now, I've got questions.
I've got answers because I just rewatched this. I figured it out.
Okay. First of all, how did she know what room her sister was in? Did she?
She literally told her.
Okay,
when she was outside at the car, she was like, "I just want to talk to you," and she's like, "I'm in room 145."
Okay, I missed that part, and that's fine. But this, like I said, it was cutting back and forth, and they're having this conversation. That guy with the headphones just happens to click on the camera just in time for Lois to go into this whole speech. That, hey, you know what? I'm on Lois's side, but the way they did it was everybody's going, "Oh my God, Lois is the bad one," and Parasite chick is like, "See, you see."
So there, yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what she's done.
It was very much a setup for one, but here's how it plays out. Here's my understanding of what's going on here. They knew that Chrissy was coming, right? Mm-hmm. They are trying to make Lois look as bad as possible with everyone they can. So who's the best person for them to do that with? Her partner, because she wants to cause Lois as much problem as possible. So she knows Chrissy's coming. So Chrissy goes in. Lois is sitting out there, sees her sister walk by, which this is all planned, by the way, because they've been watching them the whole time. So the sister walks by and she's like, "I need to talk to you." She's like, "All right, fine. Come to room 145. The sister walks in. She texts Chrissy, "I found my sister." And then she locks the car and then goes up to the room. This was all a setup, obviously, right? Because she had the video there. They knew this was going to happen. Right. So when she got to the room, the sister at that point also texts them and texts Allie and says, "I've got my sister. We're going up to the room." So that whole thing was played out. So what it comes down to is when she gets to the room and she tells them, that she knocks on the door, she says she's here, opens the door, starts the recorder, right? Allie is now going, okay, so she's there. she can hear what's going on in the room. I think the guy actually tipped her off, and that was her cue to out Chrissy. So this whole thing plays in reverse. They were waiting for the time to out Chrissy when they were ready to show Chrissy what was going on in the room. This was all about just discrediting Lois to Chrissy. That it was all
now,
a plot.
all of that would make sense if they told us that.
Right. But I figured it out after watching it the second time.
That's what happened.
True. But I figured it out after watching it the second time after you asked the question. So once the question's asked, I can come up with the easy answer. But again, you have to play. If you don't think about the answer, you just have to suspend the disbelief and go, this is just the way it's going down.
I can't do that.
Yeah, and I know you hate doing that. Like I know you prefer for it to make sense.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't have time for it to make sense, and that's the bad part. Like sometimes you have to go back in these shows and go, why is this possible? And then you have to come up with the rationale for them.
Maybe there's some other things in this episode they should have left out.
That's true. But there is a thing that comes down to this. So we do find out that Lois left out a lot of the stuff in her story that she should have put in for integrity's sake. So if you have someone give you all the information that you're asking about, for you to pick and choose what goes in it is obviously journalism, because you want to, maintain the narrative. And they're acting like this is an ungodly, unseen thing, but it's done every single day by every single media source out there. They pick and choose the components and the pieces that they want that fit the narrative of the story they're trying to tell. This is not new. And this is the part that actually drives me nuts about this whole storyline, is that they're acting like this is something we've never seen before and hasn't been going on since the start of journalism.
But the thing of it is, the way Lois explained it all made perfect sense.
It makes sense in the context. It makes sense in the context of she was trying to protect her sister. She was trying not to out her sister on all the crazy shit that she had done to protect her from people's opinion of her sister. And the problem with that is in doing that, like she said, so there is bias. And if you're trying to portray yourself as an unbiased reporter, like, you can't do that. Like, if she had said, "Oh, my sister is the subject of this thing,"
some of the information that she was mad about not being in there isn't relevant to the story anyway.
Yes, it is. The fact that she had chose to commit suicide, that it wasn't like the way it sounds like she put it is Allie. Yeah. Allie talked her into committing suicide, and that's the way it sounds like she put it.
She literally said that Parasite told her, or was wanting her to kill herself. She literally said that, and she said, yeah.
No, she says, Allie talked you into killing yourself, and she says, I wasn't trying to kill myself, I was trying to ascend. In her mind, she was not committing suicide. In her mind, she was not committing...
Can you even say that on YouTube?
I don't know. Well, in her mind, she was not trying to commit the S word. She was just trying to ascend, and in her mind, what she did was she tried to make everyone think that Allie was a cult leader that was forcing her people to do that. And she's like, well, what about this girl? And she's like, we didn't know that girl, had a heart condition that we didn't know about ahead of time. Because what it sounds like, she's like, oh, we're going to push you right to the edge of death and then bring you back. The problem is she was in a bathtub in a bathroom somewhere, and it was Lois who found her that brought her back. So, like, I don't know the extent of what this thing is. And let me tell you, I believe Lois is correct also, but Lois shouldn't have done this, done a hit piece on Allie and left stuff out without being, like, upfront about what was going on, because of obviously this was going to come around and bite you in the butt. Like, you had to have seen that happening.
Maybe so, but, first of all, I wanted to say, what have they not read a dictionary and know what ascend means? Yeah. Because I don't even have to look at a dictionary, and I can tell you when it comes to life, when she was going to help me ascend. Yeah. I was going to shed this mortal form and ascend to a higher plane of being. That means death! Yeah.
Like, what part of that don't you understand? I'm pretty sure you've seen other cult movies.
What part of that does that entire room not understand? Right. I swear, man. And plus too, a lot of her hatred goes back to because she said, Lois said that she had to protect her sister and stuff. Sure. And after Mom died, she's like, you didn't or left. She's like, she didn't even want to talk about her. I'm like, well, okay, I'm gonna use just a little age train guess here. My guess is Lois is older than her.
Yes.
She said Lois was 8 when her mom left.
Mm-hmm.
How old does that make her sister?
Probably between 4 and 6.
Maybe, yeah, 4 maybe. She can't possibly remember any of that, and to hold a grudge that long for a bunch of stuff you don't even remember, it's dumb. It's dumb. I can't get behind that.
Yeah,
and
but
I hated this part of the
psychological trauma is psychological trauma. It hits people different ways.
Again, you're not going to remember much.
Yeah, that's true. But
I don't remember what happened when I was 4, much less when I was 10.
Right. So this end of the storyline, they get busted. Chrissy obviously gets mad at her, and she's like, "I don't want to talk to you. We're just going to drive home, and I'll talk to you when I'm ready."
So stupid.
Lois is continuously trying to get a hold of her to give her side of the story, which there is another side to that story. That Lois should have been honest with her in the first place, and we wouldn't have this problem that we're about to have. Because if she had said, "Look, my sister gave me this interview. There was a bunch of stuff that I felt was, damning against her, and I wanted to protect her. So yes, I left that stuff out, but I didn't lie about the rest of the content. I just left out the components that, made my sister look crazy." And then Chrissy would have been like, "Okay, I can see that. I can understand that." But
maybe she had a word count that she had to
the dreaded word count. But then, because she didn't do that, Chrissy makes a phone call at the end of the episode to Parasite and says, "I want to talk more about Lois. I need to know the real story." Now, there's 2 ways this can go. She's going to become a cult member and she's going to have to be saved, or because she does stupid things, or the smart play, at least in my book, to make this thing come around a little bit better is she is actually going to be a good reporter and embed herself in there by making Alston think that she is part of the cult, like wanting to really know more, and then turn on her in the end. I don't think they'll do that because I don't think that this character has that in her, but we'll see what happens.
I noticed something when she went in and sat down and was being talked to, is the way the camera focused in on her. Like she was actually listening, and she was almost kind of buying it, like being mesmerized into it. I think she's going to end up turning.
I mean, like I said, that's the easy route. That's definitely the easy route.
No, for sure.
But we'll see where that goes. So, next quick jump into Lana's life. Lana finds out from Emily, the one girl that went hardcore into, basically fought her way into becoming part of Talro's super soldier program, and then got mad at Lana about it when Lana told her, don't drink the Kool-Aid, stay out of this, you don't want to be in it. Then she drank the Kool-Aid and then became super soldier, and then got mad at Lois. But she shows up and she's like, "Lois, your live stream was awesome. By the way, Mayor George, he's trying to play dirty. He's still taking the low road. He's going after your daughter's S-word attempt, and he's probably going to out her." And I'm like, it's a small town. Everyone already knows. What are you outing? There's literally one stop sign in this town, and everyone knows everybody and everything. So they definitely know this happened with her. This ain't new. Well, you care. Why do you care? And luckily,
what's that have to do with anything?
It plays out with Sarah that she don't care. She's like, "I don't care if he says something about my S attempt. I know I did it. I made a mistake. I was young. Whatever. So what? Bring it." I was like, that's actually pretty good. I'm hoping that they do more with this. If he does say something, she stands up and just gives it to him and drops him on stage. She just needs to have a mic drop moment with that whole situation.
I don't think it's gonna get brought up again, because they end up running into him in the street and say something. He's like, "I'm not gonna," because she's like, "We leave family members out of this," and he's like, "That's fine." But then takes a parting shot.
we leave kids out of this. We leave our children out of this, because apparently his kid is a dope fiend. But so obviously he doesn't want that coming out if it isn't already out. But like I said, small town, everyone already knows.
Everybody.
But apparently he also knows that her husband is not quite the good guy anyone ever thought he was. Not that they thought he was a good guy, because he was a drunk and whatever.
But
anyway.
everybody already knows that.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that he's back on the lam and keeping it quiet?
Well,
I call BS on that.
The aftermath of that whole situation and getting to the end of this storyline, which is very short, thank you, writers, was that he ends up, after that whole thing and his whole, him talking it out with Lana, he realizes he has a couple skeletons in his closets that he needs to make sure stays locked up. But when he walks into the bar, which I am going to assume is not in Smallville, by the way. I don't think it's in Smallville. Not. I think it's in that next town over or something. And he walks in and they're all like, "Hey, Kush, what's going on, man? Good to see you again." And she's like, "Yeah, everybody's been missing you around here, especially me." And she gives him the old hand hold that says, "Oh, he's been sleeping with this chick." And he's like, "Yeah, that's why I'm here to talk to you." And that's the end of their that's the end of their storyline. Because obviously he's probably had an affair with her and it's going to come out in the dirty laundry.
Seriously, it's like, why can't he just be a solid guy? Why do you have to write the character down the route? It's so
because
cliche.
If they make him just a straight up solid guy, then you have the straight up solid guy with the straight up solid girl, and there's no drama.
Forbid we have an actual normal couple.
But that's supposed to be Lois and Clark.
There's nothing normal about that.
There's true, but if you really think about it, like this whole situation comes down to they need that there has to be some drama in this storyline, and that's where they're going to create it. They're not going to have it be Lana. They just wouldn't have it be Lana.
Look, I don't know if you remember, but last year when they were having this thing between him and his daughter and not being able to build that that was kind of like a rocky thing, and when they finally remedied it and he, was there for her and did all that stuff.
Yeah.
That made me happy.
Yeah.
But now they're going to basically turning heel again.
No, they're not. They're not turning him heel again. Think about it. So the heel part of him was back before he had his come to Jesus moment with Sarah. Like all of this stuff was happening, like because he had that turn of heart with Sarah, he hasn't been the heel. And right now, he hasn't. But he was obviously. We know he was a bad guy. But
they're turning his character heel.
No, they're not. They're not. They're really not.
Saying, look at this bad stuff that he did.
But we already know he did bad stuff. Like this isn't new. This isn't new information, right? But this isn't
specifics, and it could have stayed quiet.
We don't know specifics, but it would never have stayed quiet because the Mayor Dean is digging in, and if he's digging in, he's gonna find out. And if he's gonna find out, he's gonna make it public in the worst way possible. But the worst thing for him to have done was then turn around and go, "Hey, my wife's running for mayor of our town. Can you just keep your mouth shut that I kind of tripped and fell in? Because if you don't, then it's going to cause a problem." And that's just going to turn into, "So how much money you got?" You're going to be the mayor, the husband in chief of your town? Interesting. It's just, it's trouble down the road, but I feel like if he told her everything that he was doing wrong, he should have told her this too at the time, because finding out now is what's going to make things hard.
He's probably being followed too.
Of course. So it's kind of the theme right now.
Yeah, so there'll be hidden pictures that were taken, and those get exposed.
So why did you go to that bar right after we spoke with you? Who's the girl behind the bar?
This picture right here.
Yeah, it's gonna be ridiculous.
This is from last Saturday night.
And it's not Lana and Chrissy doing it, so it's not news. But so that's the end of that storyline, and we get into the actual main part. There is one short one. There is about the boys. Yeah. I forgot.
Jonathan decides while he's watching football practice, he decides to start taking the
he didn't decide. He did not decide. He had decided.
I think he was.
Nope. Here's the deal. He had decided against it because he was telling his girlfriend, he's like, after thinking about it, I don't know if I want to do this because, this isn't right. Like, I've been against this whole thing the whole time, and now I'm kind of getting ready to do it, and I don't think this is right. The girlfriend walks up, and she's like, "Well, he just bought 5 vials for me on Friday, so that he's going to be able to really kind of blow you out of the water. You might want to consider using it." And that's when he decided, all right, I'm going to do it. This girl that he is dating right now, what she's doing is classic gold, pre-gold digging, okay? So, and what I mean by pre-gold digging is she's going, if I can make him into a superstar football player and I'm his girlfriend, then I'm going to go for the ride. And that will hopefully get me out of the trailer park, which will let me be able to take care of my family better. Like she's really on it because she's like, "Oh, I love you, Jonathan," and then she kisses him and walks off after planting the seed.
Money, so
after after planting the seed of, you need to take this stuff and win. And he ends up going out and he's like, "Hey, coach, can we do? I really see how much work he's putting in. I want to put in that kind of work." And of course, this coach is just like the stereotypical, that's what I like to see. Let's get in there and do it kind of coach thing. And he sends him in and they do a head-to-head shootout between the two quarterbacks. And of course, the other kid, I guess, has gained strength, obviously. That's kind of what they've been playing on. But what Jonathan got was an eagle eye. So he can see through the clutter to get the ball directly in the hand of the receiver, which doesn't make a lot of sense because there's a lot of what ifs involved in that. That's a lot of RNG. Like you have to hope that the player is able to catch the ball. You have to hope that the defender doesn't swipe. Exactly. So like being able to see what's going on, I understand that, but that's a lot of tunnel vision too, because you saw that was 100% tunnel vision in that. But he ends up going head to head with him. He beats out the kid, obviously, by what it looks like, because he's able to make all of his catches are received where the other kid had a bunch of the guys fumble it. Which, like I said, the RNG only played against the other kid, not against Jonathan. So obviously that's written into the story. And that's
really all we see of
Jonathan. Yeah, and then we switch to Jordan.
Jordan, he is with what's her name?
Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah. And they're at their friends' family's convenience store, and they're talking. And a couple guys are in there and they're trying to steal a bottle of alcohol.
Real quick.
Yes.
What bodega keeps the alcohol on the shelf in the back of the building?
In the corner.
In the corner where it can't be seen. Which, by the way, under that camera. Like that camera would not have seen what was going on by that alcohol, even though it was watching the other party. Like, you keep the alcohol behind the register, behind the counter, not to mention the fact that girl ain't 18, so she couldn't be selling alcohol anyway. She couldn't sell it anyway. Like, there's so many just blatant dumb things that were happening right there in that store. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so he accidentally uses super hearing to hear 20 feet away that they're trying to steal it, and apparently they were talking so quietly that both of the other girl couldn't hear. Like, they weren't that quiet. Mm-hmm. So he goes over there, freezes the floor, and they slip and fall on it, dropping the bottle. They run out. Yeah. And apparently they called the cops.
They steal a $20 bottle of booze or get a $5 million lawsuit for a slip and fall.
Now, here's the thing.
Thanks, Jordan.
Here's the thing about this. First of all, they didn't technically see who it was. Second of all, they didn't steal anything because they dropped it. Mm-hmm. Why are you bothering to call the cops?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yep.
So, here's where it gets stupid. Jordan decides to call his grandpa.
Right.
Who somehow can hack into a closed-circuit camera in a convenience store.
From a golf course.
Have it scrambled at just the right time. And so that's the video that is getting sent to the police. Mm-hmm. However, the video that was scrambled was sent to Jordan's phone and is not what's actually in the store on videotape.
No. So
you what?
No, well, what he said, he's like they're gonna look at the tape any second now. He's like, you mean this video? And he showed him the clip of the video that they were going to be looking at he just copied a portion of what's on the video in the store right now and sent it to him.
Yeah, let me tell you, I really doubt they were saving those videos on a server somewhere.
That's exactly what it was.
They have a VCR tape
and
a VCR.
Nope. Not looking at that camera, that's definitely not what they have.
Small town.
Right now, it doesn't matter. Right now, I can go on eBay and I can buy basically that camera and the deck for it, which is $145. It's literally a digital recorder. No one uses VHS tapes anymore, even if you don't have money. If you have enough money to open a bodega, you have enough money to get a good security system to protect your bodega.
Okay. Fair enough.
And all of that is online. Like I can dial into Tilt from my house and look at all of the cameras with just a password on my phone. Yeah. So it's completely defeasible.
And I assume he knows exactly where they're storing their videos.
I mean, he ran the DoD, which is our next statement. He ran the United States Department of Defense, so he has ways and means. This episode that apparently he could only call upon very meagerly last episode. But after all this goes down and all the craziness happens, which we'll talk about the rest of the craziness in a moment, Jordan catches his dad on the way out heading home, and he's like, hey, Grandpa, I need you to train me because I need to be able to back up Dad when ish hits the fan. And he's like, okay. He's like, we can do that, but you need to keep this between you and me. And I'm like, oh my God, didn't we just rectify this last time when Lois said, don't do anything with my family without me knowing about it, or you're out of the family? I'm like, dude, how many times are you going to do the same stupid thing when it comes to Lois? You know she's going to go off on you about this, but you're still going to do it anyway. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, that's not going to end well. However, I do like the fact that he's going to train him. Somebody needs to, and obviously Clark's too busy.
Well, Clark doesn't have the his training videos got destroyed in the last season. So
that's true.
Him being able to train him directly has been a situation. But
I think with his grandpa helping to train him, I think that's good. I think that'll work out better.
Yeah.
Now, as far as his relationship with Lois, that's all.
Yeah, that ain't gonna go well at all.
So that finally leads us to Bizarro Superman.
To the actual main storyline of the show.
The actual story I care about.
Right.
Because when it was finally showing this stuff, I was happy about it. I'm like, this is good. I really liked the fight between... I'll back it up a little bit. Bizarro doesn't know... he doesn't really know like where Superman is. I think I'm not even sure where did they say he was? Like
he's in the salt flats.
Was it
he's in the salt flats in Guadalajara.
Okay, so he's out there, and they find. I'm trying to remember how this plays out.
You want me to tell you?
I think. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So when at the beginning of the episode, when they're sitting there eating breakfast, he has one of those attacks. And the Clark is seeing what Bizarro is seeing, and Bizarro all of a sudden is seeing what Clark's seeing. And that somehow allows him to hone in on where Clark is. But prior to that, what we saw him trying to do, at one point he had that purple gemstone that's around his neck. This was one of the best parts about this. They're actually showing who Bizarro Superman is. Bizarro Superman is a mirror image of Superman, and basically everything is opposite to what Superman has and does. So they show him using his flame breath to try to break the thing, and he has, cryovision, which, freezing vision rather than the laser, the heat vision.
That's so weird.
Yeah, so like all of his abilities are the exact opposite of Superman's. So I like that they were showing that off. But he's also trying to I don't know what that thing is. But it becomes kind of a focal point for the episode because he flies to see Superman.
If Bizarro Superman tries to blow fire and then regular Superman tries to blow ice to put out the fire, it looks like they're kissing, or they're trying to kiss each other.
Okay. They're usually far away from each other. How does that come into play in your head?
Well, they're working on it. They haven't figured out how to actually do it, so they're starting
I really thought you were at least going to say that it's going to cause steam or like rain or something, but no, you went to kissing. Anyway, moving on.
I'm unpredictable.
if at least when he shows up in Smallville, Superman goes to head him off. They get into a little bit of a tussle. John Henry comes running out of the barn and he's like, "You need some help, Superman? I'm right here." I'm like, dude, calm down. And he calls for his AI to give him his hammer, and she's like, "You don't have your gauntlet on. It's gonna hurt you."
He's like, "No time for that."
He's like, "Give it to me." So she throws him the hammer.
Unfortunately, he plays into that a little later.
Yeah.
Because you see him in the background kind of
wrapping his wrist,
shaking his hand.
That and he wraps his wrist in the next scene. But he ends up throwing the power hammer at Bizarro. It hits him square in the chest. I think it surprised him. Like he was like, that thing hits hard, I'm out, and he dips out and leaves. He goes back to the Salt Flats. But while all this was going on, as always, John Henry is collecting data, and he gets a data flash off of that gemstone that apparently is putting off a very specific radiation signal. He downloads the information from the hammer and he gives it to Superman, and he's like, "Hey, we can track him now because he's got a very specific radio signal coming off of that amulet." And he's like, "Well, how do we do that?" He's like, "Yeah, we can't because we don't have a satellite." And he's like, "Oh." He's like, "Well, I know someone who does. The DoD has it. Let me go see Major Mr. Anderson." So
Mr. Anderson,
he goes to see Mr. Anderson, and he's like, "What do you want?" He's like, "Dude, I'm trying to help." He's like, "Well, you didn't want to help last time, so why are you trying to help now?" He's like, "I have something that'll allow us to find this Bizarro Superman." And of course, that piqued Mr. Anderson's interest because he wants the Bizarro Superman so he can experiment on him and try to make more. With that being said, he's like, "Okay." He's like, "Well, thanks for bringing this to us." He's like, "Well, I need to." He's like, "No." He's like, No. You brought me the information. Thank you. Get out."
Yeah. So Superman actually knows where he's at because they figured out where the heat visions were, or where it was coming from. So, he tells, "Oh no. It was the DoD that found out." And when was it Superman that called them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he calls them, and they're like, "He's in blah blah blah," but I'm sending my guys out, so you don't have to worry about it. He's like, "Don't, because they're going to die. They're going to be finished." There we go.
So so here's they're called the Supermen of America. That's what that little trio is called. The Superman of America.
Yeah. Well, they find him. Now they're just one because two of them got their necks broke. Who didn't see that coming?
Right.
Because, as soon as they let him go, I'm like, yeah, those come back.
Well, yeah, so he sends him. Freaking Major Anderson's like, "Hey, go get him and bring him back to us." I'm like, "Dude,
these three aren't even in."
Yeah, these three kids. Superman can't take this dude in a one-on-one fight. You think these three kids can? That barely have the combined ability of Superman, and the only reason why they're able to do anything to help or support Superman right now is because he's basically at like 3/4 strength because of the whole head trauma thing that's going on with him. There's no way that these three kids can handle Bizarro. But he's like, "Oh, well, my Superman of America can do anything." So he sends him down there. And when they get there, they're like, "Superman?" They don't even know who they're going up against, dude. He did not fill them in as to who this was, because when they got there, they thought it was Superman. And they're like, "Superman?" And he turns around, and they're like, "That's not Superman."
The one dude's like, "That's not Superman."
Yeah. So Superman gets a flash forward vision of what's going on with Bizarro. He sees him punch Tag conveniently, and then he grabs the other two and snaps their necks. And Superman's like, "I need to get there." So he takes off.
Superman shows up, and he tells Tag to get out, and before he does, he grabs that necklace.
He grabs the amulet. I'm like, "Oh, so you just took the thing that lets you tell where Bizarro is. Good job." But obviously it'll get analyzed and they'll figure out what it is. It'll be something that will help to defeat Bizarro, and that's why Bizarro's been trying to destroy it the whole time. But like, dude, just take it off and leave it somewhere. Like, throw it into space. if that's the case.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, like if Superman could use his heat vision to use it towards that, and maybe that will suck Bizarro back into it. Maybe that's where he was originally in.
I don't know. But either way.
But anyhow, they get in a big battle, and then John Henry shows up, and his suit is not at 100%.
She's like, dude, you have 10% power. The hammer is broken and has no power. Like, you have no defenses. You should not be here right now. Why are you doing this? And he's like, override. Like, you're gonna die. you're just gonna die, dude. Like, why would you do this? And he's like, I have to be there for Superman. Like, no, you really don't. Like, let him fight it out. He's actually stopped him 3 times already without your help. And he, for whatever reason, he puts all the power into the hammer and then throws it, which I actually did really like the way that they did that scene. Like, when he's flying and he just like turns and whips the hammer. I thought it was a really good. That the CGI effect on it looked really good. I liked the way
I thought
they did
the whole battle. I thought the whole battle was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember. Well, we're not working on CW budget. We're working on HBO budget.
Well,
and so that helps.
The convenience of the battle was the one thing that kind of like he threw that hammer from like miles away. By the way. And the fight just happened to work out that Bizarro Spartan kicks Superman to the ground right before the hammer would have hit Superman in the back of the chest, in the back of the head, and then pinged off onto Bizarro. But Bizarro, like Spartan kicks him to the ground. He gets tagged with the hammer. But then, for whatever reason, John Henry, who has no energy left in his suit, just lands next to Superman, like a waiting target for Bizarro to just fly up and tallywhop him into next Tuesday, which he does, and you see him go ass over tea kettle like 5 times until he ends up broken on the ground. But that enrages Superman enough to heat vision super punch Bizarro into the stratosphere, at which point Bizarro flies off and Superman takes John Henry Irons back to the DOD recovery lounge.
It took him to the hospital, and while there, he goes in, and his daughter and John Henry's daughter is there, and
she shows
crying,
up,
of course, and she's upset.
No, she went in, she came in after the fact.
Oh, that's right.
Because Lois had to go get her and brought her to the DOD, which apparently is very, very, very close to Smallville. I'm not understanding any of the spatial disparity for this.
I just assumed this was a normal hospital.
No, they're in Smallville. They were in the DOD. They were at the DOD. Whatchamacallit? But
headquarters.
Apparently he was suffering from brain swelling, which I thought was a really cool effect again, because he did his x-ray vision and they show his brain kind of like swell a little bit, which I was like, that's pretty cool. The visuals in this show have really kept to being excellent, which in a lot of shows they're not so great, but this one has been doing a very good job about it. But the daughter gets mad at him, gets mad at Superman. You were supposed to protect him. Why did you let this happen? I left him in Smallville. He got in the suit that you and he agreed to try to fix to help without my permission or my request. This is not my fault, but look, Superman takes it all.
Teenager, but you need to think about some things before you start pointing fingers.
Superman,
just like I'm doing right now.
Yeah, Superman soaks up all that aggro and just takes it, of course. And she's like, "You get out! You're the reason my dad's here." Like, no, your dad's the reason your dad's here. He's a grown man who made his own choices. It was a bad choice, and that's why he's here. But she's an irrational teenager, and she's like, "I'm mad at you." So she'll be over it by next episode. The dad will wake up, explain to her what happened. She'll be okay with it. They'll build a new suit. It'll be fine. Everything's okay. But Lois is like, I'm gonna get her some clothes and go back up there and stay with her, which is fine. And that's when the whole thing happens with Jordan and Grandpa. But the bottom line to it is Superman can now see where Bizarro is. It's not one way anymore, and that's important because obviously they're not going to be able to track him anymore. I'm interested to see what that gem is. It's I thought it was blue at first, but it turns out it's purple. And I was thinking, because if it was blue, it would match with the whole situation. Superman's kryptonite is green, Bizarro's kryptonite is blue, and I was thinking that's what maybe it was, like somebody put a necklace of blue kryptonite around him.
Yeah, but
then I was like, he's been taking it off and on and putting it back on. He wouldn't have done that that if that was the case. And then I realized that it wasn't blue. Like my brain said it was blue because I know blue kryptonite, but it's purple.
It's like that gold dress. Is it gold or is it silver?
Exactly. But if this thing is purple, so I don't know what it is. Next week,
it's
I'm
like
sure.
I'm colorblind. I don't know. You tell me.
Now that the DoD has it, they're obviously going to tell us what it is and how it can affect Bizarro and or Superman. So then we'll see where it goes.
They get to be the exposition people. I did. Like I said, I only cared in this episode for the Superman and Bizarro stuff. Everything else, I just felt like was kind of stupid.
Yeah, but you only got a 15-minute show if you only show the Superman.
I know it, and that's the problem. I mean, considering Superman is the main part of the show, and you've only dedicated 10 minutes, 15 minutes of it. Come on, you got to do better than that.
I mean, it is what it is.
Any other thoughts?
I have a couple, but I'm not quite sure. One thing that I did want to bring up that I'm pretty happy with and kind of impressed with. So, Lucy Lang. Yeah. She is the same person who played Lucy Lang in Supergirl. And in Supergirl, and because this is a spin-off of Supergirl, keep this in mind, that means they're in the same universe. This makes me happy, but also makes me mad. Because if Superman needs help with something that's been beating his butt, why haven't they called Supergirl in to help him? Because she would be a much better ally in taking down Bizarro than John Henry Steele would be. Okay?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Now, let's also keep in mind with this being a connected universe, if I remember correctly, in Supergirl, she played Superwoman.
Who?
Lucy Lang.
She did?
Which she is Superwoman in some of the comic book continuities. She's a Superwoman in some of the comic book continuities because of things that happen. So I'm wondering if there's going to be some sort of a shift in what's going on with Parasite to move her towards Bizarro in some way to try to get at, because she finds out Bizarro's beating the crap out of Superman. I'm sure she knows Superman is Clark. I can't believe she wouldn't. But maybe that leads her to Bizarro to try to get back at Lois somehow.
You could say that about anybody in these cities.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
You would think that they would know.
It's ridiculous. Like, how does Tag not know that Clark is Superman? He works for the DoD. Superman is always there. He's seen Superman in Smallville, right? He's seen Clark in Smallville. He knows
Tag was friends. Yeah. Tags was friends
with Jordan,
with Clark's kids.
Yeah, like how does he not put these things together? I don't know. It is the most annoying thing in the DC universe is the fact that nobody seems to know who the DC superheroes are, even though they do nothing to really hide their personas, as it were. But it's an ongoing trope. We're just going to go with it. But yeah, that's about it. I just want to bring up the fact that she is played by the same actress who played herself in another show, which means, like, if she's playing that same character in that same world, though, actually, no, I just remembered. We just had, the Crisis on Infinite Earth, which combined all of those Earths into Earth Prime. So though she was Lucy Lang in Supergirl's continuity, she is Lucy Lang in this continuity as well, but this is a different continuity than the original one in Supergirl.
Does she not show up after a Crisis on Supergirl?
I didn't see her at all. So I also didn't see every episode. I also didn't see every episode after. Well, I watched it to see what they were going to do anything interesting, which that's why I haven't seen all of the last episodes of Supergirl, because they didn't do anything interesting.
No. I'm gonna correct you. I watched it to see if anything would change, and it only got worse.
It really didn't get any better.
Or here we go. I watched it to see if anything changed, and the show's been canceled.
But Lex Luthor was responsible for bringing Bizarro into the world in a couple different continuities of Bizarro's existence. So maybe they're going to do something like that. I don't know. I don't know where they're going to go with it, but it's interesting to see that character is being played by the same person and is the same character in this and the other continuity. So we'll see if they tie any of it together. And hopefully they will decide, hey, let's be smart and bring Supergirl into at least one episode. I know the show has been canceled, but so is Black Lightning and Arrow, and we've seen Diggle and Black Lightning in these shows. So you would think that they would at least take the character that the spinoff was created from and bring her back into continuity at least a little bit, because as far as it goes, those boys should know their cousin, you know. And I'm pretty sure that we know that Lois knows her, so like, why don't they do something with this? We'll see.
I have no idea. It's a very good question that we probably will not get an answer to.
But it makes so much more sense.
We do want to thank you for watching, and please be sure to hit the subscribe button down below and give us a thumbs up as well too. So on behalf of Vic,
that's me,
wherever he's at, I'm Corey. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.
See ya. And I'm right above you, by the way.